Breaking news to Fantasy Football Today and CBS Sports HQ, where the NFL Players Union is launching an investigation into the handling of Tua Tagovailoa's latest injury. That's the latest from our NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. The Dolphins quarterback suffered concussion Sunday's loss to the Packers, landing him in the protocol for the second time this season. With Tua sidelined again, the Dolphins will turn to Teddy Bridgewater as a starter for their critical matchup with the Patriots this Sunday in Week 17 in Foxborough. Joining us now on Fantasy Football Today is Jonathan Jones, our NFL insider, to break down the story. So, JJ, the NFL Players Union investigating this concussion situation with Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins. What's the latest, according to you, and what you're reporting?
Yeah, so this is the second time that the NFLPA has initiated what will ultimately be a joint review with the NFL into the handling of Tua Tagovailoa's concussion and the protocol that was or was not followed. You'll remember a couple of months ago, after what was his first confirmed concussion against the Bengals on Thursday night, of course, he had that hit to the head with the turf the previous week. That's unconfirmed that it was a concussion. We may never really know whether it was or not. But this is the second confirmed concussion. And what happened, while head coach Mike McDaniel did not confirm that it was the hit to the turf that we all saw there late in the second quarter, what he did say was very interesting today. You know, previously, Jamie, we were under the impression that on Monday, Tua came in complaining of concussion-like symptoms, self-reported, went to the doctor, and then was placed in the protocol. Today, we learned from Mike McDaniel that's not exactly how it went down. In fact, what happened was that as Mike McDaniel was watching film on Monday from that Christmas Day game, he noticed what he said were some consistencies in the tape that I study that led him to have some cause for concern, that led him to begin asking Tua questions even before Tua got into the room. And so once he got into the room, that's when the questions were initiated. That's when the Miami Dolphins said, hey, maybe you should go see the doctor. And that's when he was placed in the protocol, since, of course, confirming that he suffered a concussion. And so it's going to raise some questions about whether the spotters should have noticed it, someone on the Dolphins sideline, maybe a team doctor, an unaffiliated neurotrauma doctor. Any of these people could have seen it. It's possible. We will see through this review of how the protocol was or was not followed, perhaps if there are going to be any changes to the protocol, as we saw the last time when ataxia was added to the list of no-go symptoms for the concussion protocol. So right now, the review initiated, the NFL and NFLPA, they've been here before as recently as a couple of months ago, and here they are again.
So, JJ, you alluded to this. Does this fall on the spotter, the Dolphins? You know, how does this, get rectified in the future so that they don't have scenarios like this again? And obviously, from the Dolphins' perspective, so they don't put a player like Tua in jeopardy any further.
Yeah, it could very well be an unfortunate series of events and a unique scenario, right? Where, okay, he hit his head on the turf. A number of players hit their head on the turf or have helmet-to-helmet hits. They're not all evaluated for a concussion immediately after. It's not clear, and it does not seem as though he showed any obvious signs of a concussion immediately after his head hit the turf. We haven't been able to review the video, but it doesn't look like he was grabbing at his helmet or shaking his head. The only thing that we have, based off of what Mike McDaniel said just earlier today, was that when he reviewed the film on Monday, that there were things from Tua and his play on the field in the second half that made him wonder about where Tua's head was at, figuratively and literally. And so is that on a spotter? Is that on an unaffiliated doctor to evaluate the play of a quarterback like a head coach, like an offensive guru like Mike McDaniel? Obviously, that's territory that no one wants to get into because that's a very dangerous territory, and I think we all understand the answer to that question. So it's hard to find right now, as this investigation is minutes old, whether someone directly was at fault, whether it was a failure of the entire system, or if it's just something that unfortunately is going to happen in a game where you have a number of hits to the head and no obvious test for a concussion that science has produced yet.
So, JJ, we know that Teddy Bridgewater is starting Week 17 against the Patriots. Do you anticipate, and if you talk to anybody that indicates maybe that Tua's done for the regular season, maybe the playoffs, knowing that this is, again, multiple concussions in the same season, and the Dolphins are under investigation for how this all unfolded?
So this is me talking, and this is, talking with folks around the league, but no one within the Miami Dolphins organization. Mike McDaniel said, his health is a private matter, and that's first and foremost, and really the only priority. This is a cluster of concussions at this point. It is very rare in the NFL that a player has 2 concussions in the same season. It's concerning, right? I mean, I think anyone who has paid attention to football or knows anything about concussions would say that 2 concussions in the span of a few months is extremely concerning. He would actually follow the exact same protocol as if he had his first concussion. That's the league rule. There's no difference in the protocol whether it's your first or your second concussion. That may be something that the league and the NFLPA ultimately changes, but right now that's the way that the protocol is set. But even still, Mike McDaniel was asked, hey, would you add an extra layer of protection? Let's say he passes the protocol. The doctors clear him. Would you still hold him off and hold him back? And he didn't. He declined to really go into that hypothetical, still talking about how his health is first and foremost. But all that said, the Dolphins, the NFL, there's a lot of scrutiny around the handling of Tua Tagovailoa and his head injuries these past couple of months. It is difficult to imagine that we're going to see Tua on the field for the rest of the regular season. I suppose it's possible he could come back for the postseason in 2 weeks from now, but the optics of it would be really, really difficult. And so, if it's me talking, I can't imagine that he's going to come back this season based off of all of the facts and facets that I've laid out. But assume it is possible that he would be able to return if the Dolphins do make the postseason.
All right, certainly a story that we'll wait to hear more updates from you and certainly Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins as well. So great job, JJ. Again, the breaking news that the NFLPA investigating the Dolphins and their handling of Tua Tagovailoa and his concussion suffered against the Packers in Week 16. JJ alluded to this, that we'll find out if the Dolphins will continue to play Tua Tagovailoa. They're definitely in the playoff race. Need to beat the Patriots in Week 17 and then potentially the Jets in Week 18. But as you see right now, they are in the wild card chase and hoping to hold on to a wild card spot in the AFC.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.